CCM is just winning the cosmetic game lately. Their last three releases are just beautiful looking sticks. I love the new Trigger 6 Pro's cosmetics. Looks great, and I love that little waviness that's all over the stick.
What's going on, Beer Leaguers? Justin, aka Boomer91, Beer League Bum Hockey Reviews. It's been a week. It's time to check out a new stick release, and the soft launch of the Trigger 6 Pro just came out, and I've been testing it for a week. I'm going to share you my thoughts.
My first thoughts with this stick was it took me a little bit to get used to just because of the different kick point and the stiffness, but that first shot was an absolute bomb and came off super, super hard. As I was getting used to the different games, I played about 6, I think, it really started to come into its own and I started figuring it out. Quick little shots, stick handling, all that felt really good, as I'll touch on in the video. But it's just so light that just like little touches like this, just to my buddy over there for a tap-in, just feels amazing. These couple of little goals are dekes, and I hardly ever deke, but I felt really confident with the stick because it was so light and stick handling felt so good. So I went to forehand on the first one and then went to backhand on this one, and just super feather light. The challenge that I had with the stick was on these shots. They're all goals, but it still took me a little bit to get used to the loading that required for it. I'm a pretty hard shooter. I'm 200 pounds, but it still took me a little bit to get those shots off and a lot of effort and made sure your technique was good. But the stick, man, it can let go of some really hard shots because of how fast it recoils, as long as you are good with technique and know what you're doing. On this little shot right here, it was just a nice little wrister, but I put everything into it. But when you do, man, does the puck come off hard.
So guys, I have been testing the Trigger 6 Pro now for about a week. I played multiple games over the weekend, and overall I'm happy with the stick, but it plays a lot different than the current CCM offerings and the other brand top sticks. So let's go over it and see what's going on with this stick. First things first, just the feel of the stick is amazing. It is super light. It is very well balanced, and the concave back half of the shaft with the in-concave of this side, it feels extremely nice in the hands. It just sits perfectly in the palm of the hand, much better than an Nexus Geo, which is very exaggerated and actually caused a lot of stick rotation when you were shooting, whereas CCM nailed this, perfectly sits with your fingers on the back of the hand and feels excellent. The balance point is amazing, feels great, and honestly, it's another win from CCM, considering back in the day, the CCM sticks were not very light and not very balanced. It's not blade heavy, and it feels great. The stick is extremely stiff, especially compared to an AS4, which is my current go-to stick. I've been testing that long term. I'm trying to figure out the best durability of it. And this stick plays very, very stiff. And that comes from the asymmetrical taper, runs all the way to the middle of the stick where you hold your bottom hand. And man, is it hard to recoil. Now, here's the thing. The shot power from this is quite good with a lot of effort. And I was taking a couple of huge clap bombs, really loading up those wrists and snapshots, and the shot came off extremely hard. This stick kicks really hard. The problem is it does take a lot to load it. Whereas with the AS4 Pro, I could literally go down the wing, I'm a left winger, nice little dragging wrister, full power, like barely any effort. When it came to the CCM Ribcor Trigger 6 Pro, every time I was thinking about a shot, I was thinking, how am I loading it? Am I getting the proper technique? Am I putting everything into it? And that was a little bit of a problem for me, because if I didn't do that and I was thinking AS4 Pro and coming down the wing with a shot, and I just try and let it go, I didn't get quite as much on it. Now, that's also to say that if you're doing a quick shot, say a quick one-timer, etc., and you're just trying to get the quick little shot off, the problem is you don't get full power. So this stick is definitely for the guy that has really good technique, knows what shot he's using in a consistent basis, is always taking a quick snapper, quick wrister, and has very, very good technique. You will get amazing power out of the stick. If you're a little bit of a newbie, a true beer leaguer like the rest of us, this might not be the best stick for you because of that, and you're not going to gain the power that you thought you'd have, and you'd be like, oh, this stick's not that great. But if you have that technique, if you're a stronger guy, I'm 200 pounds, you'll get a lot out of this. The stick kicks really hard. It recoils really hard. I haven't really seen a stick do that recently. A lot of the sticks right now from CCM are a little softer, easier to load. FT4 maybe kind of in the middle. AS4 Pro, very easy. Again, Bauer sling, very difficult to load. You have to really flex the shaft, and that thing struggles by trying to shoot the puck with both the blade and the shaft, whereas this shoots with the shaft, and man does it kick hard. Now, really nice about this stick, because of how stiff it is the stick handling. The stick handling is amazing. You can just dangle the heck out of everybody because the stick is so stiff, you get exactly where the puck needs to go. You can move it around. Amazing stick handling stick. And because it's so light and balanced, it feels great because of that. Now, where does the stick kind of fail a little bit for me? And that is going to be, of course, the taper. It just is really difficult to load. I'm not sure what that is about. I haven't used anything back in the past. I never used a Trigger 3 or Trigger 4, but I compare this thinking to the Trigger 5, and that's kind of the same idea. It was a bit challenging to load back then as well, but this stick kicks harder and it recoils harder. Very, very thin blade, very lively, pucks come off it really well, super stiff, accuracy is excellent. So overall, my thoughts on this stick are kind of down on CCM's bottom tier, mostly because of that. It requires somebody with extreme skill to use this stick. Very good technique. So I'm still ranking the FT4 from CCM as their best stick, with the AS4 Pro next, and then the Ribcor Trigger 6 Pro is CCM's lowest stick in terms of all of my ratings. However, still a really great stick. Now, I'm not sure how long this is going to last durability wise, but any stick that is that stiff will probably break sooner than later when you're constantly leaning into shots. So that's just something to think about. If you have that technique, if you can bend your stick really well and you get those shots off, my guess you will probably break this stick sooner than the others. Final thoughts on this stick. I would definitely use a lower flex than you have been, because of its stiffness. So I purchased an 85 usually. They happen to have an 80 here, and I picked up the 80, and interesting enough, right away I noticed that I actually wish I had a 75. So if I bust it, I might drop even another 5 flex and just see how it is loading. Probably be a little bit easier, and it'll feel a little better when you're actually shooting with this and passing with it. But I will tell you right now, you're gonna notice that this stick is very, very stiff. But if you like the Ribcors, and you always have, it's definitely an upgrade. It's going to be better than the Trigger 5 because I broke the Trigger 5 blade, and that was really quickly. No blade issues here, haven't broken it yet, so it's definitely more durable than the Trigger 5. The also interesting thing is CCM seems to have upped the durability from last gen. The AS3 Pro, the FT3 Pro, the Trigger 5 all had durability issues. I've been testing all 3 of those sticks now back to back on their releases, and all of them are definitely improved durability, so kudos to CCM there. My stick ratings are coming up, guys. Again, overall, pretty happy with the stick, just a different feel. So I'll probably be going back to the AS4 Pro. That's just how I roll. But overall, if you're a trigger guy, it's definitely an upgrade. Have a good one.
The Trigger 6 falls 15 out of 20, and that's mostly because the stiffness makes the release a little bit difficult, but I did mention you can drop down a flex, and that might improve for yourself. And it falls in just underneath the AS4 Pro with the same routings overall, but slightly different type of stick. FT4 still maintains the top spot right behind the Nexus Geo, which I wasn't a huge fan of because of the weird pointed shaft, but from shot power and load perspective, it was actually quite a decent stick.